What's going on, everybody? Welcome to SimBull's second happy hour. We got here Patton and Kenneth as well, and we're just going to be taking a look back at the market from this week, looking at each of the leagues, kind of going through our thoughts on why those teams dropped, and at the end, stay tuned. We'll give some predictions on who we think are some good buys for the next week or several weeks. And if you're watching this, whether it's live or after the fact, feel free to leave any comments in the chat. We'd love to answer those questions, whether it's this week or next week. We'll be doing this each week around this time, so feel free to hop on, grab a beer, and we'll talk a little bit of SimBull.
I got mine, Light and Cool Summer Shandy. It's like 50, 60 degrees right now, but it's still summer, so we'll start with this. 3 o'clock. You don't have a beer yet, do you? You're not at home, so no beer for
not
you?
Yet. I will be as soon as we get off here. So it's the final thing holding me back from my weekend, but happy to do it. So
well, there you go. I actually just got in from fishing, so I'm at cabin. So we'll see if the Wi-Fi holds. But yeah, excited to talk a little bit SimBull, and we'll do this every week. Hopefully, create a nice little community of people coming in, talking about sports, and having a little fun.
For sure. Awesome. Well, real quick, we just want to walk through for those of you who are visiting, who don't know what SimBull is. As basic as we can put it, SimBull is the stock market for sports. You can buy and sell shares of your favorite teams, and you earn win payouts when those teams win. So it's a couple different ways to invest. You can look for those teams that have maybe had some down years, but you trust the front office, you trust the offseason moves, you trust the coaching staff, you buy them low, ride them out, collect those win payouts, and sell them for a decent return. Team has an easy schedule. That's another one. You could buy them, collect those win payouts, and sell them off at the end of it. So just a couple different things you could do with SimBull. We do have some new features coming up that I wanted to mention. We'll show you them here on Monday. We're launching our new analysis tab where we have a couple different features. So right now, we feature news articles from different writers around the country talking about all different teams with a SimBull spin on it, or a general spin on it, but just kind of taking a look at where those teams are at right now, whether they're in season or out of season. So check us out at SimBull.app. Click on the analysis tab. You can see all those. But we'll show you as well these other teams right here, or our new analysis right here. So if you guys can see my screen here, we got some cool new features. You can check our Sim 92 index, which is an index of all 92 teams on the site. So we offer Sim NFL, Sim MLB, and Sim NBA. So whatever your sport is, you want to try them all, you want to do one that's your favorite, feel free to join, make your deposit, and invest in some of these teams. But you can just kind of see how each of the teams are doing in the market. And then we also have live tracking of how
live games
are going right. Yep.
That's going to be sweet. Look at that. Cubs up 1-0 on the Reds. We got live tracking.
Exactly. Yep. So if you're sweating one out right now and hoping you get that win payout for the Cubs against the Reds right now, you can come to SimBull, check those scores. Or if you even missed out on yesterday's games, you want to see which of your teams won, can scroll through here and check out all the scores from yesterday's games. Here's our analysis tab where we write our own articles. You can see Kenneth and I here, some other companies that we work with right there as well.
Scroll up there, Pat. Go check out that top 5 Sim MLB teams of the week. That is a fire article. Gives you everything you need.
There you go. Yeah, so if you're too tired and you don't want to go back through and check each team, feel free to come onto the analysis tab and see how each league's doing, see how each team's doing. So it's a cool opportunity for you guys to check out some of our content. Also, we add some major sports articles that just kind of have some headlines that we think could impact moves in the market. And then you can check out the biggest gainers based on a set period of time. So this month, this quarter, this year. We have biggest losers as well. So just easy ways to track your team and track how the overall market's doing. We also have these fun polls that you can vote on. Come here and debate with us and vote for who you think is better in each of these categories. So we'll have some different polls each week that you guys can go through and click through them and vote on them. So
awesome. Yeah. So that's launching Monday, new analysis tab, which will be pretty exciting. A lot of new features, really easy ways for people to be able to track their teams, figure out who's going up, who's going down, figure out trends in the market. So that's pretty exciting. So that'll be launched Monday. So stay up for that. Obviously, we'll launch that on our social medias. If you haven't followed us yet, at SimBull Exchange on Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. At SimBull Exchange on Facebook, we have a Facebook page. You can like that. And then at SimBull Exchange on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date. We're going to be doing some more live shows and then also just doing some shows, tutorials about the market, deep dives on different teams. So make sure to follow us on socials as well.
Absolutely. We're in the works of building up our social media right now. If you want to head to our Facebook page or YouTube, the draft night stream, it's a little long, but it's a good one where you can get Kenneth and I's live reaction with some comments from fans. Each of them.
Lot of Packers and Bears talk too. So if you're a Pack, all fans are welcome, but a lot of Packers and Bears talk.
Fair warning if you're a Vikings fan as well. So, all right, man. Well, let's get into it here. So we're going to take a look at Sim MLB first. We had a ton of movement this week. It's getting to the point in the year where teams are kind of establishing themselves, where those fluke starts are down the drain, and we're kind of seeing how these divisions are shaping out. So we'll go through the biggest gainers first. Not a surprise here, the Sim Yankees, highest priced team on the market, and they are up 17% this week, currently priced at $51.33. Any comments?
Yeah, it's one of those things where everyone expected them in the spring training to be the best team in baseball. They're projected to win 100 games. They didn't show that right off the bat. A lot of people were pretty worried. They might have got swept their first series of the entire year, so people started freaking out a little bit. But they are still, the best team. Even though actually the Rays are still ahead of them in the AL East, but they are still the best team. And I think people are starting to realize that they'll be able to collect those win payouts. I know this was about the Sim Yankees, which had a big day. I'm a little bit confused about where the Sim Rays are going. They didn't show up in the top 3 gainers, but they're 9-1 in their last 10. They made the World Series a year ago. They've won 90 games for I think 4 years in a row, and they're going to do it again. So the fact that the Sim Rays are the 15th highest priced team in the Sim MLB and the Yankees are the highest, I would probably personally lean towards the Sim Rays just because of that price. So AL East will be really interesting to watch. Boston's played really well. The Blue Jays are an up-and-coming team. You have the Yankees who are supposed to dominate, and you have this Tampa Bay Rays team whose price is middle of the pack, but turns out to might be the best team in the AL. So that'll be an interesting division to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Last year's AL pennant winner as well. So definitely no shortage of the Rays being good over the last several years, and they're continuing that in one of the toughest divisions in baseball. So definitely a team to look out for. The other two, I'm going to group them together here because they're kind of similar. The Sim Cubs and the Sim Indians, they both seem to be going the other way. Obviously, the Indians traded Francisco Lindor and the Cubs trading Yu Darvish, but they've kind of proved it on the field. They're in pretty easy divisions. They're both second-place teams right now, but they've been pretty hot over the last few weeks. So we got the Sim Cubs up 17% as well, and the Sim Indians up 14%. Any comments?
One on the Sim Cubs, which I know we've talked about before off air. I actually wrote about it in the article too, so go check out the analysis on the top 5 Sim MLB teams of the week because they're on there. The determining factor for the Sim Cubs stock is going to be, are they buyers or sellers at the deadline? Because I don't know that we have a real answer of if they're going to be trading off Chris Bryant or if they're going to make a run and try to make another playoff run with this core of Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant. So they'll be an interesting team to watch. They had a big uptick. But if they trade Chris Bryant, be careful because this stock will probably plummet quite a bit. Now, that being said, if they trade for a starting pitcher and they try to make a run, they could go the opposite way. So I would say it's a stock to monitor moving forward, going up to the deadline, because if they continue to play this well, I don't think they'll sell off Chris Bryant, but just be careful if they do. Sim Indians, I don't really have much comments on. They've been playing, I wrote in the article as well in May, they're 15-8 so far in May. So they are one of the hottest teams in baseball, and the market's starting to reflect that.
Yep, that is the third best record in baseball there for the Indians in the month of May. Cubs are second. And, it's been interesting. You mentioned the Cubs a little bit, and obviously we're 2 Cubs fans here, so we'll spend some time on this. But you don't know where they're going to go because they sell off Darvish, and you think, what are we doing here? It's a salary dump. They didn't get much for him. He's one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball, and he's showing that again this year, and they got rid of him. But do you go back and do you add a starter? Chris Bryant's contract's up after this year. He's a Scott Boras guy, going to command a ton of money. Craig Kimbrell's been the best closer in baseball. So they got some pieces they could sell and kind of wave the white flag. But right now they're a game or half a game away from first from the Cardinals, and they just beat them in a series, and they got a couple more coming up against St. Louis. But it's going to be real interesting. I think this is going to be one of those things that's going to come down to the trade deadline in July, and they'll make their decision. But investors should probably be weary because you just don't know which way they're going to go.
And one other comment on the Sim MLB for the biggest gainers. Sim Royals up 12%. If you watched last happy hour, I talked about the Sim Royals as the team to buy just because of their schedule and their price. They're 6-4 in their last 10, and they still have upcoming. They still have the Tigers. They still have the Twins twice. They have the Angels, etc. So all winnable games, but make sure to tune in every Friday because we'll give you some. Hopefully, we'll give you some good picks.
Yeah, absolutely. And doubling down on that, I picked the Athletics as my team of the week, and they did end up winning 2 series against the Angels and the Mariners. Schedule stays easy. They got the Angels and the Mariners again, and then Colorado and the Diamondbacks. They're not up as much as you'd think in the market. I'll check right here, but yeah, that's another team to look out for. So far, I'd say we're 1 for 1 on our picks for the upcoming weeks, and we'll try and keep that streak going for you guys if you guys can tune in every week. So cool. Let's take a look at the biggest losers now on the market. So this one's more drafted towards the NBA. So we'll start here with the Sim Heat. Lost last night to the Bucks, down 3-0. They just kind of look lost, and they were last year's Eastern Conference champion in the NBA, but Giannis has kind of taken over, and the Bucks are all over them. So,
yeah, they're dead. And I think, if we're going to talk about the 3 biggest losers in the entire market, it's probably going to lean towards the Sim NBA just because the season's coming to an end. I mean, that's more of a long-term strategy, not reflecting on the individual teams, but on the way SimBull's designed, where you earn win payouts in season, right? So as the Sim NBA season's winding down, you're not going to be able to earn win payouts on the Sim Heat, so people are going to sell them off. Same thing with, if the Sim Suns lose to the Lakers, etc. So just something to keep in mind as SimBull moves forward. That's how the seasons go, right? Sim MLB is hot right now because there's a lot of season left. Sim NBA is going to drop a little bit just because of that transition, but it'll pick back up again. So if you're a big Sim NBA fan, now would be a perfect time to get a bunch of cheap shares. We can talk about the other teams that went down, but I think the Sim Suns went down. The Sim Warriors went down. Sim Jazz, I think, went down a little bit. So if you're a big Sim NBA fan, now's the perfect time.
Yep, absolutely. I wrote an article earlier this week about how important was that play-in game between the Lakers and the Warriors, and basically the Warriors have been down 17% since losing. Obviously, they went on to lose to Memphis and get knocked out as well. The Lakers were up 25%, so there was some good value there if you think one of these teams can go all the way to the finals, which the Lakers look like they're kind of on their way. Tough loss game 1, but have been pretty dominant the last 2 games, and that brings us to our second biggest loser in the Sim Suns, down 6% this week.
Devin Booker has been not good. I mean, he single-handedly pretty much won game 1. He was really efficient. I think I saw stats since game 1. He's like 11 of 40 from the field or something. Don't quote me on that, but something not good. They just look outmatched, and I think people expected that going into the playoffs. After the Lakers won their play-in game, I think they had the second highest odds to win the NBA Finals. So it looks like people pretty much expected them to turn it on. And it looks like LeBron looks good. Anthony Davis looked really good last night. So Sim Suns moving forward in SimBull, I think they are a great value because they have a young Devin Booker. They have a young DeAndre Ayton. They look like they're going to be a team competitive for a long time, but just a little bit overmatched by the King.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Chris Paul. He's kind of been the starter for their team that's got them going in the right direction, that veteran voice, but he is a free agent after this year. The Lakers, the West, man, it looks pretty easy there with the Clippers struggling against Luka and Dallas. And I don't know. This may be another repeat title. They'll have some trouble with some teams from the East, but I think it's safe to say the Lakers are going to finish this off and have a great shot at making it to the finals. Yeah. Another big loser. We'll switch leagues here. The Sim Braves down 5% this week. 1 game under 500. It's been a little disappointing. Last year they made it to the NL Championship. Ended up losing to the Dodgers eventually, but they were a young team. They've had some injuries hit them, and things just aren't going in the right direction. And the Mets have kind of gotten out in front of that division and taken first place.
Yeah, so the Sim Braves were interesting because they were the biggest gainer, I believe, yesterday. And then today they went down 5%. So they've been up and down quite a bit. I mean, I don't know, Pat, can you pull up their graph? They have a really wild graph because I think people are struggling where to put this team because they did have those high expectations. They are exciting with Acuna and Freddie Freeman and Ozuna, right? They're a really exciting lineup, but it just hasn't come to fruition this year. So if we look at the Sim Braves, they had a really interesting month of May as far as, let's pull that up real quick.
Yeah.
So look at, if we do just like the 1 month, right? So they had that really nice rise at the beginning of May, then they kind of set it out, then they had the big drop, and now they're back up to $36. So they're an interesting team to watch moving forward because they do have the high expectations, and they're a really young team. So if you're a longer term investor, definitely a team to watch out for. But yeah, just a lot of variance right now in their price.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, like KJ said, it's a young team, but a good one to look out for because you're really not sure where they're going to go. Let's hit one more team here with biggest losers this week. We talked about a couple NBA teams, but the Sim Clippers as well. They, like I mentioned, they've been struggling a lot with Dallas and the Mavericks. So what do you think? You think they'll turn it around here? Or you think Luka's too much for them to stop?
I would be worried about that moving forward, whether they win or not. They've had a whole host of issues since blowing that lead to Denver last year in the playoffs, right? The playoff P stuff, Kawhi, all that issues. And Kawhi's going to be a free agent after this year, and there's talks of him moving on to somewhere else again. So I would be worried about that team moving forward if I was a shareholder. They do look lost. I mean, Luka is unbelievably good. He's played in, I think, 8 playoff games and is one of the best. Looks like he's going to be one of the best scorers of all time. But I would be worried about the Sim Clippers moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of those teams, high expectations, not quite as good as the Lakers, but you get to the playoffs and anything can happen. And Dallas has stormed out to a 2-0 lead here, and they'll be going back home for games 3 and 4. So that'll be interesting to monitor for sure. All right. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. We're going to finish off here with our picks for the week. One team to maybe invest in this week or next week and ride that out. And then we'll go with one that we think would be a bad investment. So you want to lead us off there?
Yeah, absolutely. So team of the week, Sim MLB market, earning those win payouts. The Sim Mariners. So the Sim Mariners have been really interesting because they weren't projected to be good this year. They were projected to finish 3rd behind the Athletics and the Astros, actually maybe 4th behind the Athletics, Astros, and Angels in the division. They get off to a really hot start. They were first in the division for a while. Then they started scuffling. And now they're about 500, right? Maybe a game below 500. But based on their value in the market, I would seriously look at this team for the next couple of weeks. They're I'm trying to count right now. They're the 23rd highest priced team in the market at $28. Game below 500. But this team has a load of young talent in their farm system. They have a top 5 farm system in baseball. All those guys should be coming up in the next 1 to 2 years. So yes, they have some short-term, and I'll talk about that coming up. But long-term, I would look at the Sim Mariners seriously. But in the short term, their next series, they got the Rangers. Then they go Athletics, which would be a tough series. Then they have 4 against the Angels, 3 against the Tigers, 3 against the Twins. Right, so really winnable games in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But also, I think they're a long-term play with their young core coming up through the farm system. Like I said, they have 3 of the top 5 prospects in baseball coming up. I think one of them's already made an appearance. But interesting team just because they are so lowly priced on the market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, lower priced, bottom half, and not too bad a value there for $28.91. And they've been steadily growing, but easy schedule and a lot of prospects coming up. Some of them we've seen get called up recently, and more on the way. So yeah, great buy there. For my pick, I am going to go with, you kind of spoiled it earlier, but the Rays. I mean, they year in and year out have played the Moneyball game and have shown great success. Like you mentioned, 90+ wins last year on that path, or 2 years ago, 90+ wins on that path for it this year. So I think they're a great value, 12th highest priced team in the market, and pretty easy schedule coming up. So I know it's a tough division, but they win a lot of those games against those teams that aren't above 500, and they've been steadily growing. Some investors are starting to come around a little bit, and as you can see here, especially as of late, beginning the week at 29 on the market, and now all the way up to $32. So could be great value there with the Sim Rays. Who's your pick to avoid? Yeah, I know we kind of spoiled it earlier, but
I didn't mean to. We didn't plan that, but I mean, that's absolutely true, right? They're first in the AL East, and they're priced below the Yankees and the Red Sox, which to me doesn't make any sense. Maybe the Yankees, I understand the Yankees, but the Red Sox for sure. My pick to avoid is actually the Sim Red Sox. If you're going to put money into that division, it has to be in the Sim Rays, right? Like the Yankees are ridiculous. The Sim Yankees are really high priced. The Rays provide a lot of value at their price, but the Sim Red Sox right now are the 6th highest priced team on the market. And they're playing in a division with the Sim Yankees, with the Sim Rays, who are both going to win 90 games. So I wouldn't trust the Red Sox long term in that division. They weren't projected to be good this year. They've been playing really, really well, but I don't know that they can sustain that for 162 and keep up with the Sim Rays. It could be one of those things where they win, 88, 89 games and miss the playoffs, and you don't want to be stuck holding a stock that, doesn't make the playoffs because they're in a really good division and good conference. So I would stay away from the Sim Red Sox just because of their division. I don't think they can quite sustain what they've done so far to start the year.
Right, and like you mentioned, 6th highest priced team on the market, and that's just a tough value there when you're going to be playing the majority of your schedule against your own division in the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the Rays. So definitely one to avoid there, and we'll finish it off here with my pick to avoid, and that is another Sim MLB team, the St. Louis Cardinals. They are in first place in the NL Central, and it's not the best division, but I did mention they've been playing they've lost 4 of their last 6 against the White Sox and the Cubs, so tough schedule there. But this team was kind of supposed to be the front runner and get out of the gate hot with signing Arenado, having Goldschmidt on the roster, but they've struggled, especially offensively lately. It's been tough for them, so we'll take a look at their stock here. But they are the Sim Cardinals are the 15th highest priced team, so not a terrible value, but people have gotten on them. As you can see, they were a little up and down, but even recently, over the past week, they've been on quite the rise. So definitely one of those teams you want to be careful with investing in. And I'll take a look at their schedule coming up here. But 4 of their last 6, like I mentioned, and they're playing the Diamondbacks this week. They won last night, but one of those teams you got to be careful with. They got games coming up against the Dodgers, the Reds, who aren't the best team, but then you have the Indians, and then they got to play the Cubs again. So just something to look out for. Had a decent start, got out to first place, but with that value, it could be tricky in the long run.
Their biggest issue is they haven't beat a 500 team. I don't think they haven't won a series against a 500 or above team. They're racking up wins against bottom half teams, which you have to do to be a good team. But the problem is, like you said, they're losing to the Cubs, they're losing to the White Sox. Be interesting to see what they do against the Dodgers and the Indians coming up. But a little bit fraudulent first place just because they haven't really been tested so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you have to play your schedule, but when you can't win those series or even take 2 out of 4 or whatever it is against those teams, especially within the division, it's not a good formula for long-term success. So, all right, anything else you want to add, or we'll save those for next week?
Save them for next week. Just real quick, make sure at SimBull Exchange on Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, like our Facebook page. We're really trying to ramp those socials up, so do us a favor. And also stay up to date, right? We're tweeting out articles that could maybe help you in the SimBull market. Also give you some general analysis about all the sports, so make sure to follow us on the socials. Reach out to us if you have any questions, anything you want us to cover, any segments you want us to cover in the Friday happy hour. We're happy to take any suggestions.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it. Whether you tuned in today or you're looking back on us, come on, add your comments. Like Kay just said, subscribe, follow us on socials, and we're looking forward to next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.